All right, let's give a round of applause. And please join me in welcoming director Rachel Wolther. And we'd also like to welcome Tessa Greenberg, editor, and the assistant director, Alex Backus.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching the movie. Wow. Hey, guys. Our moderator today had a last-minute scheduling conflict, so I'm going to try to do this. And would love to take any and all questions from the audience, but I'll start us off. So this is a really small, true independent film. I had the idea, I wrote a script, and then I slowly set about recruiting all the people who worked on this movie, of which you can see there were a lot. And it took several years, and we raised a small amount of money. We shot it in New York City, and then we finished in New York City, premiered at Tribeca last year, and now here we are trying to get people to see it in theaters. Let's see, Alex, could you introduce yourself?
Hi.
Maybe, could you explain what an assistant director does?
I first want to say really quickly that the director of photography, Charlotte Hornsby, is expecting child this week. Otherwise, she would probably be here. I've never done a Q&A because I don't usually bring the assistant directors for these, so yeah. But it's my job to make the schedule. I get all the info and put the shooting schedule together, and then on the day, pushing us through the shooting schedule and managing everyone on set. So this was 18 and a half days. We shot this in 18 and a half days. It's wild. During COVID in 2022, I pulled up the schedule to see, and this time 3 years ago, we were starting to go into the theater and doing the climax. So it's really crazy to see it all come together.
And Alex, this was a small movie with its challenges. Could you describe any of them?
The biggest one was that Miranda, our head producer, got COVID on day one or day -1. So the first week and a half, we didn't have a producer, and we were small, and we had locations that were some of them were donated and weren't available. And I remember we had to change the schedule at one point.
Oh boy.
Getting into Grand Central was super tricky, and we could only shoot that on a weekend, and they only gave us a small 3-hour window, but it was a bucket list to be able to shoot at Grand Central. I think we had a crew of 8 people that day, and it was a Saturday, and just had to get in there and shoot it out. And I remember taking the escalators and timing out how long it would take, because we really wanted to make sure that they crossed each other at the right time. So that's the weird stuff that I'm thinking about on set.
Cool, thank you. And I think most people understand what an editor does. Does anybody want to know what an editor does? Okay, you get it. She puts the pictures together after we shot them. So, Tessa, what interested you about this film, and what's something you like about it?
Oh, man, thanks for the question. I loved working with you on this film. I'm a lifelong New Yorker, and we had met through a female filmmaking collective called The Belly a few years back. So when you came to me, I was already a fan of your work, and then
I was a fan of your work.
And then you sort of told me what it was about, and I think you mentioned Zabars, and I was like, say no more. So yeah, that was a joy, and I'm also a fan of these two comedians and actors. I think they're lovely and wonderful to watch. So working with that footage was a joy. I mean, there's countless takes we didn't use of just improv and stuff that you pulled out of them, and stuff that you were probably we're running late, but they were doing really funny bits. So it's just a joy with a comedy, especially with a really talented comedy director and performers, to have wonderful, footage to choose from, because sometimes it's the opposite. So, yeah.
Oh my God, thank you. Before I open it up to audience questions, I just want to point out, if you liked the film, it would be really helpful if you rated us on Letterboxd or IMDb. If you don't like the film, I really respect your opinion, and you could just come tell me it to my face. So does anybody have any questions? Yes, hi.
I'll come with a mic to you. One moment.
Oh, we have a microphone.
It's just for accessibility and for recording.
So, what was your inspiration for this? Did you have that neighbor?
Thank you. I deny being that neighbor. I work from home and I spend a lot of time looking out the window and kind of like spying on people and journaling. And I was watching somebody and I was like, ooh, this should be a movie. And then I was like, no, I'm a hack. Like this should be the movie that I'm like, what kind of writer am I if I just steal from people's lives, but then I've made it up. So the movie is like kind of a joke on myself about people who are bad artists who don't know that they're making bad art. Yeah, thank you.
And you were a theater kid too, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
The dialogue seemed so natural. How much of it was improv and how much was scripted?
Thank you very much. It was, I don't know, maybe like 75% scripted, but pretty much everybody who acts in this movie is like a professional comedian with like a long improv background, except for Chloe Cherry, she has a different background. And so they had full license to just, we would do one on book, and then I was like, you could just say anything and meander. And the two leads really could go on, and I could just say go, and they could just make up a scene. And in fact, the theater piece at the end that Ike does on stage, Ikechukwu Fomodu, is like an incredible comedian. I wrote like 3 sentences, and I was like, can you please improv a play? and he was like, oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, so he did, yeah. So a lot of improv. Yeah.
Sorry. Is there a particular line, I think this is just for each of you, is there a particular line of the improvised lines that really just stood out to you, made you laugh unexpectedly?
I'll let you guys answer this. Do you have any?
I don't want to say the improvised line, but in the script, the Nom starter line, like reading that really got me, and that was one of my favorite jokes in the movie. So that was not improvised. That was always intended, and I love that joke.
Okay, I definitely have a favorite one. After they first meet Mary, the very first time they bring her in to audition, and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. At the very end, Val gets on the table and starts like spinning around, and she's like, and then he says, body sushi. Because you know that trend of eating sushi off of people? It's like, it just came out, and if you've ever been in a couple, you have your weird own language and jokes. So I just loved that line. I thought it showed how goofy they are together.
That is one of my favorite lines. You dug that out of the footage, because I didn't even see that.
Yeah, I was like, should we end the scene like this? And we were like, yes.
Yeah. I think my favorite part is when Ruby McAllister starts singing as the karaoke machine, which is something she just decided to do. And I was just like trying to not laugh while we were filming it, so I didn't ruin the take. There was a question over here. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this movie very much.
Oh my God, thank you.
It was so much, spontaneity, and I love the dialogues. I love the editing part also, beautifully done. How long did it take you to write this screenplay?
How long did it take to write the screenplay? Well, I write really slowly. I kind of can only write for the last 30 minutes before I go to bed. And I'm not allowed to go to sleep until I've done it for the day. So I kind of wrote this one page at a time. So I write 1 page a day. It took me 3 months to write the first draft, 3-4 months, and then revised for a couple of years. It took a year before it was a good script that anybody liked, I think. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We have another one up here.
Rachel, thanks so much for the invite. So glad I can be here.
Yeah.
Everyone's complimenting the dialogue and the spontaneity, but I think one of the things that really brought it home for me was the audio and the music. There were just so many tense moments that I was over here cringing, oh, that's so awkward, and it was because of the music. So I'm curious, what inspired you as you were thinking through the audio?
Thank you so much. Wow. The audio. I don't know. I feel like I don't know anything about audio, but I was briefly a professional podcast director. So I guess I've worked in audio for many years. So, but what really happened is Ike, who's in this movie, made this great film called Inspector Ike, where it's kind of a Columbo take. And I went and saw it, and the score was incredible. And I thought it was all vintage library music from the 70s. And I talked to the director, and he's like, no, it's this guy Simon. He just has this crazy band in Brooklyn, and they make music that sounds like it's from a 1960s Italian film. And so I looked this guy up, Simon Haynes. His band Tradici Bacci did basically this whole score for this movie for almost no money. And he wrote all this original music. We got a 4-piece string band, what do you call it, a quartet together, and recorded live with the movie playing to time it up. And I was so excited. It added so much depth. So we were able to, Tessa and I cut the movie with temp, and Tessa's actually has really good music timing as an editor. And then we were able to go in with a composer and like put in original music to most of it, to a lot of it. And then there was La Bamba, which was like, we were trying to figure out what kind of karaoke song we could get the rights to, and music like that is really quite expensive. But it turns out La Bamba is in the public domain. That is a folk song. So that was an easy choice. And then, yeah, we just kept coming up with different ways to use La Bamba that was just like making me laugh. So we did this like operatic version, and then there's a saxophone version that Simon arranged, like that I'm using intermittently, which is just like the sexiest saxophone. It's like, I'm just doing them, it's just really cracked me up. So thank you for the question. Yeah. Okay, Mom, you're next.
Thank you for sharing your movie. I'm really curious about the character of Wendy. Is that inspiration from like your theater background? Did you just need a crazy character to like push them along into a play? Could you just speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this happens, like if this is specifically a New York thing or if this happens everywhere, but I have a lot of friends that I feel like I know very well, but I've definitely never been to their house. Because in New York, you always meet in the bar, you meet in the park. And so like there's people I've known for a really long time, and then suddenly you find out where they live and you're like, oh, everything I thought I knew about you is totally different. So that was drawn from real life. So we had this idea that like, I really wanted this movie to be about people who are not artists who somehow get like swept into putting on a show, and so they needed someone who would like be like, yes, I will take your money and spend it for you, because there's tons of people who would love to do that, and that's where Wendy came. And then I named her after my aunt. All right, Mom, do you want to ask your question? Here's the microphone.
Thank you. I love the movie. This is my second time seeing it, and there's more to it than I remember from the first time. This time I noticed Valerie and Doug got off on having the power to tell other people what to do, especially to tell Mary what to do. Is that what it's like directing?
Yeah. I mean, that's what's like really fun about directing. Especially like, I don't know, in school theater, community theater, where people, it's like the stakes are low, but people are taking it super seriously. It's like really fun to build it up. Yeah, thank you.
I want to know, I kind of remember, but what got cut? Because it's a very tight script and there's a lot in there. There's not much that could be on the editing floor, but I know there were a couple of things.
Yeah, do you remember? I remember a few things.
Yeah, the hand sanitizer, Kinko's run.
Oh, there was a bit where Doug was supposed to print the programs for the play, and we had made this really funny program, but then he was like afraid of getting COVID, and so he left, and there was some really great talent in that scene. And that got cut for time.
Yeah.
Oh, and there was this bit about Mary's like relationship with her dad that I thought was like the funniest joke, and it just like I shot it wrong, so it didn't make any sense.
Yeah, there was like more of a storyline of Doug being a germaphobe.
Being a germaphobe.
But we were sort of like, well, time, you want to hit Act 1 at a certain time in the movie, Act 2 at a certain time in the movie, yeah. So we got to kill your darlings.
Yeah.
I see so many projects we have to cut so much for timing, so it's really impressive that so little got cut. I think it speaks a lot to how tight the script is and how well it all flows.
Yeah, we barely shot anything. There's like no footage. And I think almost every shot we did is in the movie. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, hi.
I have a technical question about the cameras. What camera products were you using to shoot?
We shot this mostly on the Alexa. And halfway through the shoot, we realized we were like not getting enough footage, and we brought in a second camera. So all the stuff in the theater and in the rehearsals, we shot with 2 cameras, so we could riff more and cover more. Yeah.
Both Alexas?
Yeah, 2 Alexas. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for asking. Yeah. Now, if you were to ask yourself one question, Alex, what would you ask yourself?
I'll ask you a question. What was the hardest day to make? Because as the first assistant director, you mentioned schedule, and when you have like a 10 or 12 hour day, plus load in and load out before the 10 or 12-hour day? What was the hardest
This one
day?
was really tight. It was a tight shoot all around, and I remember being stressed a lot, but we had so much fun that I kept being like, this is the craziest, but it's so much fun. I think the Grand Central was pretty crazy just because of the time.
There was a parade that day. I don't know if you remember
Yeah,
that.
and we had to go around it.
Yeah, there was a parade up Fifth Avenue, which we did not know about till that morning.
I think one of the challengingest, the hardest was we shot in Prospect Park, and we had a bunch of background there for the marathon, and then one of the cards got wiped by accident, so all these extra shots of big crowds got wiped, and a splinter unit had to go back and reshoot some of that stuff, so it's a little weird there. And I just remember, like, that was really tough coordinating all that, and it was a little disappointing, but it's just classic filmmaking where you figure something out, and like, we didn't have any time, so a splinter unit went off and we're able to shoot it and get the pieces we needed, and it all worked, but that was a really tough day.
Somebody the other day said a great quote. They said, every movie is a miracle. Like, they shouldn't be able to happen, but somehow they do.
It is like a lot of work, and then all you get is a movie at the end. All right, unless there's anything else, one more question, and we'll wrap it up. Anybody? Nobody? No? No?
First of all, great job. It was really funny. Loved it, the whole thing. I felt like the lead couple were like, had this very visceral anger towards Mary throughout the whole film. Mm-hmm. I found myself almost like feeling for Mary throughout the whole film. Like, I saw this like naivete, or like, I don't know, I just felt myself like feeling pity for her, feeling bad for her. So I was just wondering if like that vulnerability was intentional, or like, yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that's like not incorrect pathos. I mean, they're like, the main characters kind of are the bad guy. They're doing something really cruel and stupid, and they're kind of just because they're bored. For the Mary character, sometimes you meet people who are just like, I just can't get a read on them. I think in the script she's described like you can't tell if she's 18 or 40. Like, it's just people who are just like so blank and opaque. And then that was in the script, and then my producer Miranda was like, you got to see this girl on Euphoria, Chloe. And I was like, wow. She's really like, you can really project any feeling onto her face. So that is what we were going for. Thank you. Yeah. I did see one. Was that just a pity question, or do you want to ask it? Were you just because I was? Yeah. Okay. Last one. Okay. We'll let you go.
I grew up watching my dad do a lot of community theater, and so it was funny you talking about like the inspiration being kind of a joke about people making bad art that they don't know is bad. But I also felt like I found like it reminded me of the kind of like joy of watching people make art that's not great, and like the creating stakes that don't exist for themselves. So I was wondering if that was like part of your thought process, or.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's like I'm making fun of it, but I also love it so much. Independent filmmaking is the same way, where it's like nobody's asked me to do this. Nobody really, like, it's hard to get people to come see it. Like, nobody really is interested, but I love it so much, and I care, and I recruit all these people to care about it, and we build our little nest. And and it's like, it's a little navel-gazing to make a movie about making art, but I just, like, I'm so compelled by it. And I think, like, what is life except finding something that interests you and, like, gets you out of bed, so.
We're all like, please include us. We need purpose.
Yeah. So when I make fun of it, I'm supposed to be lovingly, like, these are my people. This is my life. So, yeah. Well, thanks everybody so much for coming.
Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you to the JCC.
Have a great night, everybody.
Hey, guys.